Bedlam softball is heartbreaking, but Coach Nardo finally hits the recruiting trail for his first big-time D1 experience. But first, you've heard me say bet the over, bet the over, bet the over. Well, now, thankfully, finally, it is out, and it is time to do just that, bet the over. But there's more. Let's chop it up.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you very much for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. We are available on all of your podcasting platforms as well as YouTube, and you can find me personally at All Day O State on Twitter. So, yeah, we'll just jump right into this one. Whenever we were talking about bet the over, it was primarily because of what we're seeing on the practice field. It had nothing to do necessarily with the numbers. But when you start seeing some of the prognostications put us at 10th place, 11th place, 12th place in the Big 12, the new 14-team format, you knew no matter how it shook out, it was probably going to fall around the 7-ish range. I assumed 7, maybe 7.5. I knew 8 was probably a hair too high. But it came in even better. It came in even better. And by the way, today we are partially brought to you by FanDuel. And by FanDuel, it's out, ladies and gentlemen. The over-under is less than anticipated. The over-under is 6.5. So you're telling me that there's people out there legitimately think Oklahoma State University is going to win less than 6.5 games. Now, I know the half thing can get confusing, so let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just round it up for the sake of argument, and maybe it's easier. 7 games. I do not understand how that can be, but I'm happy about it. Me personally, selfishly, yes, but we all should be. This is an opportunity. Right? It's not a season where we're obviously picked to do a whole heck of a lot. Those are the seasons that Gundy typically seems to rebound. This is another moment where Gundy was forced to make some adjustments. And as of right now, it appears as though he has made those adjustments, which is exactly why this is the perfect time, the absolute perfect time make this money, ladies and gentlemen, because it's not going to be like this very often, right? Whenever the new teams roll in, and it's officially an entirely new conference with your OUs and Texases no longer in the daggone thing, we're probably never, ever, 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 ever going to be picked to be 11th place in the Big 12 again. So this is the time. And let's look at it. Let's look at what we have coming. All right. So we'll do a deeper schedule dive a little bit later on so we can go over some of the opponents, players, who to watch out for, so on and so forth. But just a blanket view real quick. Let's see how we can get to 7 wins. We start the season off with Central Arkansas. Right? There doesn't need to be a massive conversation there about a W. Then we go to Tempe, Arizona. And I'm hearing some good stuff out of Arizona State, but if you want to talk about a mass exodus, right? There's people that want to pretend that Oklahoma State went through a mass exodus this offseason. As we've already covered, yes, losing Spencer Sanders hurt. Yes, losing Mason Cobb's going to hurt. But the rest of them, it's not really going to matter. Right? Sione, luckily, he just got picked up by the Denver Broncos, signed some paperwork. He's going to have a chance to go into camp. Justin Kirkland's better than Sione, period, point blank. We lost Jabbar Muhammad to Washington. He was a starter for a long time. He was a legacy. He had family members graduate Oklahoma State University. So it sucked to see him go, yes. but we're going to be beyond fine. Cam Smith is more than serviceable. Cameron Epps is potentially a future All-American. Ladarius Webb Jr. could slide back out there if he wanted to, even though we don't need him to, because we're just fine at that position. So you could say on face value that Arizona State's a toss-up. But if you're going off of numbers, all right, and you saw what happened to OU last year, when you lose 40, 50 people, and then you have to bring 40, 50 new people in, it's going to be a difficult proposition to get everybody on the same page quickly. You saw it with OU last season. Yeah, they run a complex defense that didn't help them out very much, but by and large, when you have that big of a gap to fill, it's going to take time to get people to buy in and understand exactly what's needed of them. So with that said, Arizona State, you got to chalk that up as a W. Then we have South Alabama. That is what it is. Now, a buddy of mine on Twitter, Trent, he's got a couple bets out for this one. There are some individuals on Twitter Spaces that are bold enough to put it out there that South Alabama will beat Oklahoma State in Boone Pickens this season. There's absolutely no way this is going to happen. We are going to be in a competitive battle for the first half. That is probably likely. They do have a lot of Division I transfers, and they do have a decent amount of talent. But as we always talk about, depth typically shines out. Depth always shines out whenever you're running the ball at a very significant clip. So if we're, again, at that 4.5, 4.6 yards a carry range, South Alabama is not going to be able to slow us down. And by the time the fourth quarter comes, they're going to be absolutely exhausted, and we should be able to capitalize then. All right, so that's already 3 wins. And then we got to go to Ames, Iowa. This should be a W simply because we always seem to end up playing Iowa State in November, especially when it's on the road. Playing in Ames, Iowa, when it's cold, at night, in November, it's a recipe for disaster. It always has been, and it always will be. Well, that's not the case. We get them very early this year, and I'm very thankful for it, which is why that's another W. That's 4 right there. Now, Kansas State comes into Boone Pickens Stadium. I think on face value, without going deeper into their roster and what they did this spring, I think it's safe to just say it's a loss, right? That's fair right now. Then you have KU, Boone Pickens Stadium. After you watched the game last season, you could easily say this could be a loss. But I think this is an opportunity for us to get some payback in. And once again, if we're running the ball like I think we're going to run the ball, KU's not going to have a lot of answers for that. KU is a very high-flying offense, as they will be this coming year. KU does have some very talented running backs, but KU is not a grind-it-out type of team. So if we can grind it out better than they can, clearly, I think that puts us in the advantage. Then we go to West Virginia. That should be a win. We've owned West Virginia of late. I know that doesn't always factor into things because they did beat us last year. But by and large, we're just a better team. We're just a much better team. And I think their over-unders at like 4.5, which is kind of ridiculous, possibly. But again, so that's another W. Then you got Cincinnati, Boone Pickens Stadium, America's most bad A homecoming. That's a W. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simplistic. Okay, let's just keep going. OU, regardless of how good they're going to be or how good they're not going to be, it is one of those things that, unfortunately, until it happens, you gotta say that we're probably not going to pull it off. Okay, so that's another loss. So that's fair. UCF, the bounce house. This will be interesting to see where they're at throughout the course of the season. Again, I do think depth is going to be a significant issue. If they deal with some injuries, kind of like we did last season, they're going to see more of a derailment than we saw last season. So I think UCF is an interesting story. If they can stay completely healthy, they're going to cause some problems for some people to some degree. They're going to scare some people. But I think our size, I think our strength, I think our running game is the talent evaluator that equals out a W here. And then at Houston, I'm going to be there for that one. I'm really excited about that game, but it's a W. And then BYU to close the season out. I think just for playing devil's advocate, and let's face it, we do have this innate ability to mess up big games at big times. You could safely say that's a loss. Okay, so that's 9-3. That's 9-3. What's a game in here that we could potentially lose to go to 8-4? I mean, there's a few of them, obviously, but I think the most readily available would be KU, right? KU is going to be good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Well, okay, let's say we lose KU. That's 8. All right, even better. Let's pick out another one that we could potentially lose. Cincy, probably not. West Virginia, probably not. Okay, well, we'll just people are going to laugh at this one, but just for fun, let's just say we lose to UCF. That's still 7 wins, so we still win money. This is the beauty of it. I absolutely love being doubted like this. I absolutely love it. We are built for a 7+ win season easily. As I've said before, I think Gunnar Gundy could play right-handed and lead us to 7 wins. So here it is. It's out. Bet the over. We are built for this. And there's some more money lines to kind of look at real quick. But speaking of being built, have you run to Walmart yet? Have you run to Sam's Club yet? Have you hooked yourself up with a box of Built Bar? You should probably do that, because the reason they're the most delicious snack out there that's actually still good for you is because of not only the protein, not only the 17 grams, right? The only 130 calories, the only 4 grams of sugar, while also being covered in 100% real chocolate. If that's your cup of taters, go get your hands on some Built Bar. Go to Walmart today. Get yourself a 4-bar box. Make sure you cover all the flavors: churro, peanut butter brownie, my favorite, still cookies and cream. The new peanut butter puff that came out, not bad, but it's not cookies and cream. Or again, go to Sam's Club, get yourself this thing hooked up in bulk, get yourself a 13-bar box, or go to built.com. Do it right now. Get yourself hooked up. You will thank me later, and then let me know how you liked it, because I do actually enjoy the comments and messages I get on Twitter in regards to Built Bar and things of that nature. So make sure you hit me back and let me know how you liked it. All right, real quick, we'll finish a couple of the numbers, and then we'll go into Coach Bryan Nardo's first big boy season of recruiting. So at a quick hit, to win the Big 12, FanDuel has us at plus 6,000. So just a fun little math session here. If you were to just throw $100 down, you could win over $6,000. If you throw $10 down, you could win over $600. Now, you tell me out there who doesn't maybe have $10 that they could spare at some point in time between now and the beginning of the season. It's $10. They could win you $600. I'm just saying, from a financial perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Even if you're going to bet super, super, super small, $1, fine, you're still winning. And then the plus 25,000 to make the CFP, okay, that might be a little rich. But again, $100, 25,000. It's just the poetic justice for financial capabilities this season is amazing. And the reason I'm harping on it is because I don't recall the last time I seen us pick 9th in the Big 12 or 11th. Like, I just don't ever see it happening again. So will we ever get this opportunity again? Who knows? I mean, ever's a long way. Okay. But for the foreseeable future, I don't see this. I don't see this ever happening again. It just doesn't compute. And we're not typically down that low. Like last year, there wasn't a lot of meat on the bone to make a lot of money. The previous season, there was some, but not a lot, right? When you're picked 3rd place, 4th place, 2nd place in your conference, then obviously the numbers aren't going to be super great for you to maximize your profitability. But when you're 9th, 10th, 11th, yeah, those are the times. Those are the times. And these are the days. And I know I'm asking y'all, just almost on blind faith, to spend some money based off of what I think is going to happen. But what we're seeing is just too good. And the schedule, it's just too easy, right? That's the big thing. I've harped on that, so I don't want to beat that dead horse, but the schedule is the easiest schedule in the conference. This schedule is easily one of the top 3, maybe top 5 easiest schedules in the country. I'm not debating that. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that is what it is. And in this particular instance, we need to view it as a good thing, because it is a good thing. Even if you don't like betting, I get it. Throw a buddy that does some betting, $10, and say, hey, let me know. All right. So now let's jump into Coach Bryan Nardo. Everybody knows I'm very, very high on this individual. Not necessarily the way we go about the hiring process, but this guy that we got. I think he's already, in my opinion, going to do more than Mike Yurcich ever did in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Ever. I think Bryan Nardo is that flipping good. And now, so we've also talked about his recruiting prowess and how when he was at the smaller level, he got really, really, really good at recruiting from a very early age. Like he had an understanding of recruiting, learning from Tom Solich at Ohio when he was 19 years old, still in college, learning to be a coach. Like his path is the most unique path I may have ever heard of to get where he's at today. And then again, he's competing against other mid-major universities. So he knew that he was going to get, again, 300 no's just to get one yes. But those 300 no's taught him more about himself, more about his university, more about his recruiting abilities. Now it's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to fly first class all over America and get told no all the time. And I will say there's some interesting things when it comes to the defensive side of the ball in recruiting, right? Because, you know, when you look at the numbers, so right now we're in a very, very good spot moving forward, let's say at nose tackle. And with the odd man front, we are going to run some even man front as well. But traditionally speaking, it's going to be predicated upon the 3-3-5, so odd man front. So nose tackle is going to be massively important. So when you see that we only have one offer out to a nose tackle, should that be slightly concerning? Well, no, not really. You got to take into consideration that we believe Justin Kirkland is this freaking good. He's got at least 2 years left. Aiden Kelly has at least 3 years left. Eamon Oates has at least 2-3 years left. We're in a very good position at nose tackle, which is why we're not trying to beat down doors per se to go grab another one. It's not necessarily a need. Now, would we like to grab one? Sure. You always want to have something ready to be loaded into the barrel, 100%. But then you look at something like defensive ends, right? Defensive ends, we have 7 scholarships out. So does that mean that we're losing a bunch of people? Well, not exactly, because we already designated 3 scholarships to be available there anyways. So then you look at it. But we do lose, you know, some guys like Nathan Latu. Obviously, he's going to be moving on. I think if Colin Oliver has the season he has, or we expect him to possibly have, he could be gone, even though he's, which we'll get to, he's the pseudo Von Miller style of linebacker / defensive end now, where he's going to be standing up and he's going to be playing a lot of coverage as well. But, you know, it's one of those positions that we're always going to need. And yes, we do lose a few guys. We do have a few seniors and juniors right around that age, and we are going to have a few scholarships available. So the number doesn't necessarily need you to freak out, but it is something that we're going to have to attack pretty heavily. And then the Viper position, which is that, you know, Von Miller stand-up defensive end / linebacker type role that Colin Oliver is now playing. It being kind of new, we only have a few offers out there, but one of them what we did talk about the other day was Will Smith from Choctaw, right? The guy who got to play a little bit with Deshaun Brown. You all know how high I am on Deshaun Brown, but yeah, I think he's going to be a big get if we can land him at that particular position. There's a couple other guys that we're after that I don't necessarily know that we're going to have much of a shot at landing. But the nose tackle, right? Demarion Johnson, Westgate, out of Louisiana. He's somebody that we really, really want. If we could get him, that would be that extra ammo ready to be loaded into the barrel. But Louisiana is where we're going to continue to rock and roll because we've got another big fella, 6'7", almost 300 pounds, Dominic McKinley, also around the Lafayette, Louisiana area. And let's face it, guys, Oklahoma State's actually recruited the state of Louisiana pretty darn well. I mean, the Harpers, everybody remember those two brothers, right? They were one of the most recent people that we've grabbed from Louisiana, but there's been others. Louisiana is not a new state for us to recruit. So thankfully, We traditionally have some success there. But as far as the defensive end goes, I think Legend Journey is a name that everybody should be paying attention to. Size, 6'3", 260. And he's already been here. He's already visited the Houston area. We've got Coach Greg Richmond down there right now. And who else would you trust? Who else would you trust to land these big-time recruits than Coach G. Rich? Right? And we've had some success recruiting out of the Mansfield area. So I just, I don't see why we're not going to be able to land him or a Luke Webb. Right? Again, right there in Coach G. Rich's territory. So I expect Coach Greg Richmond to potentially get some good news before he heads back home. Eddie Smith, right? He's another potential candidate, 6'6", 260. He runs an official 4.9, though, in the 40. And if we can get him body by glass style, that'll be significantly better. So there's definitely a lot of guys to look out for. We're going to be in Louisiana, Lafayette area again for somebody named Melvin Hill, 6'4", 270-pounder. So it's like we've got some guys in mind, and now we have Coach Nardo out on the trail, the fancy trail, the private flight trail. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I think it does go without saying that I think he's going to be massively, massively beneficial. I do expect a lot of good things. And again, the continuity on the coaching staff is going to do nothing but help him. Coach G. Rich has been there for years. Coach Hammersmith's been there for years. Coach Duffy's been there for years. It's a really good system that he's installed. We've picked it up very, very, very well. And our bright position right now is safeties. So why would we not highlight that position, which is exactly what Coach Bryan Nardo is doing? And then what you're seeing on the defensive line, it's more than expected. Colin Clay is going to have a stellar year, but he's going to be doing so behind Justin Kirkland. Guys, Colin Clay, obviously, he transferred in from Arkansas. Colin Clay would play at almost anywhere. But that just goes to show you how flippin' fracking good Justin Kirkland legitimately is. Justin Kirkland could be a Saiki Ika type of guy. He's not maybe not as good. I know that Baylor, Siaka Ika, he's like a gold standard for nose tackle, and he showed it the last 2 seasons. But we firmly believe that Justin can be in that same breath. Right? And then lastly, if you've been watching Bedlam softball, as you see me fall and lean into face planting my microphone, for those who can't see my face, it hurt. Game 1, okay. Oh, you showed up. Kelly Maxwell wasn't 100% on her P's and Q's. It happens. Game 2. We had it. We had the lead for 99% of the game. Is it devastating? And to see Kyra Aycock cruise. I mean, the TV announcers almost maybe jinxed us, because when she came in the 6th inning, or 7th inning, sorry, the announcers were talking about how OU had not been shut out completely since 2018 in the College World Series. That's the last time OU had been shut down. And then they start scoring flipping runs. And it's just like, what? Really? And Kyra Aycock looked phenomenal. But I think we saw the freshman show up. Not only in a dominating way, but also in a mental fatigue style way. I think it's safe to say that after cruising, the moment playing the unheralded number 1 team in America, returning national champions, got to her a little bit. She missed a couple spots, gave up some big hits. Now, there's some people that are erring on the side of they wish Kyra Aycock would have stayed in the entirety of the thing. I don't think so. You had to mix it up there. She was missing spots. She was giving up hits. Her drop ball, it just wasn't quite the same. And you can see it. She got a little shook. No big deal. And then we trot out Kelly Maxwell, who went from All-American, certified, bona fide, top 2, top 3 best pitchers in all of the country from last year to this year to about 2.5 weeks ago. We do know that she cut her finger and she's tried to super glue it multiple times, and it's caused some issues with her gripping the ball. We would assume by now that the injury would be okay, but it's not. Or something's off. Something is way off with Kelly Maxwell. And it's so unfortunate. You know, we talked in a Twitter space last night, and a couple of people brought up that it's been an odd year for us in O-State country. Yeah, J.C. Hoyt, awesome. But basketball, we did the same thing. We just found a way to face plant at the end of the season, and it cost us a trip to the NCAA tournament. Yes, I know 8 teams should have got in the Big 12. We got kind of screwed by the NCAA. Yeah, that's all true. But regardless, we could have one more win, and we're in the dance, and we couldn't get it done. So that was frustrating. Track and field, we were so close, 0.02 seconds away from a national title. And just missed it. In baseball, it's the same. We came into the season with 4 potential first-round draft picks. 4. And we're just kind of floating there we're in the top half, the top 3, but that's not what it should have been. We should have been number 1 or 1B in baseball. Hands down, no questions asked. This is the youngest roster Texas Tech's had in a while. TCU isn't quite the same as they typically are. Texas is good, but they've proven to be gettable by multiple teams in the Big 12. So this was supposed to be the year, and it's not. It's not happening. And we're not peaking. Yeah, we look good the last 2 days against East Middle Tennessee State, and I do know that East Middle Tennessee State does have a couple major league pitchers, but we're just pooping down our leg this season. And then softball. Talk about riding a high. We were number 2 or 3 in America every single day until a couple weeks ago. And we went from the hottest team and one of the hottest teams in the country, other than OU, winning 12, 13 games in a row, to now losing 9 of our last 11. Now, you could make the argument that we looked really, really good the last 2 games against the best team in America. Okay, yeah. But we're not finding ways to get her did. Should we have pulled Kyra in that situation? Yes. Should we have put in Kelly Maxwell? Clearly, no. Should we put in Ivy Rosenberry like we did the day before in a terrible position? No. That's a Lexi Kilfoyle move. Or you do keep Kyra in there and you just hope she redials in. Again, I agree with the move. I just don't agree with the pitcher that we put in. And then warm-up, she was struggling. And then she bounces a ball off her hip, which you have never one time seen her do. You don't see that in softball often. But it happened. It's happening. Coach G knows that Kelly's not all there. It's rough. That last night, that one hurt bad. First game is what it is. Last night, that hurt. And unfortunately, Tattoo Baker on Twitter, make sure you follow him. He's actually a really good OU dude. But he put out a very, very, very funny picture. And it was Mike Gundy with Coach Kenny G's face. Because finding ways to screw up Bedlam is a Gundy thing. That is true. So hopefully we can rebound today, though. Even though we lost the series, winning 1 is still good for RPI, strength of schedule, and seeding. So it is what it is. But that's all for this one, guys. Until next time, as always, I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. Beat OU. And, see you on the next go-round. Later.